Hello everyone, thank you for watching. So today's book that I'm going to talk about, it's a book that when I finished reading, I put the book down, my phone down because I was listening to it, and just was like, what did I just read? In a good way. So the book is called The Antidote by, of course, my phone goes dark, by Karen Russell. And um, I, I guess I should just start with the characters and then just kind of tell you a little bit about the book, and then you can decide if it's worth your while. It is over 400 pages, so I just want you to be aware of that. I don't want you to think like, oh, it's just a regular 200-page novel. No, there are a couple of different layers, and you'll see why. So I wrote down the most important characters, and I hope that this discussion kind of leads us to where I was when I finished the book. So the first one we have is Antonia Teresa Rossi, and she is the antidote. When you read the book, you're like, oh, that must be a poisoning or someone um, needed rescuing. And what is interesting, some call her aunt. She is actually a prairie witch, which there are a lot of allusions to the Wizard of Oz in this book as well. It takes place in U-Z, Nebraska, instead of, Oz, Kansas. And there's a witch. And what's different about this witch is that she takes deposits from people who just want to get something off of their psyche. And she has like an old ear horn, and the premise is that she takes the ear horn, and the person, she gives them a deposit slip, and there's a number attached, and they'll say like 5226, and they tell her dark secret or whatever is troubling them. She goes into a trance and remembers their deposit, but she does not remember. So when she sees the person, she's not like, oh, there's the guy cheating on his wife. It's not that at all. It's when they come back to get the deposit out, the ear horn is reversed. They say, I'm here to collect deposit 5226 or 6225, and then she goes back into a trance and brings out this information to the person, and then the person can do whatever. Unfortunately, we have the Dust Bowl. It's set in the Dust Bowl, particularly Black Sunday, which started the whole Dust Bowl and killed all the crops and people, unfortunately. And that seems to take her power away. And she calls herself, she's bankrupt, and she doesn't know what to do when the people come in to get their deposits, because she feels empty. Just like when someone tells you something really heavy, you feel heavy, you feel that weight. So she carries this weight around, and then she feels lighter after they withdraw. So she feels too light and knows something's wrong. So this is where Asphodel Oleski comes in, known as Del, because it's such a long name. And she has an uncle named Harp Oletsky, and he seems to have a magic spell on his land, because the Dust Bowl doesn't affect him, to the point where people are like, what's going on, Oletsky? Why is your wheat crop growing when everyone else has lost 6 inches of topsoil? So she lives with him because, unfortunately, her mom, Lada Oletsky, was killed by a serial killer, which we'll get to in a second. So, Dell tells us her backstory, and basically her mom, was an alcoholic and made some questionable choices. That's why she was killed by this serial killer. So she says you become really good at lying when you're a child of a person like that. And it's true. You know, if you're abused, oh, I tripped, I fell down the stairs, or whatever. Okay, so the other story about our antidote is that she um, was an unwed mother and gave birth and was told that her son did not make it. She knows as a mother that is not true, that this home for unwed mothers was known for taking kids and selling them. And so she writes, when it's her turn to narrate, she uses the word son, and it's very loving. So Dell is looking for a mother figure. Um, the witch is looking for a child. So they fit each other, they help each other out get through this dust bowl. We also have references to girls' basketball, which was popular back then, and most people don't know that. So that's pretty cool. Back to the serial killer. The Lucky Rabbit's Foot Killer is what he's called. So we have this guy, Vic Isco. He's a sheriff in the county, and he's a horrible human being and very corrupt, and he's up for re-election. He figures out that the antidote is bankrupt because of the lies Dell has been helping her tell their clients. He kind of puts some timelines together and realizes they don't work. He is up for re-election. You have a serial killer on the loose. So you need to make sure the serial killer gets caught before the election, or boom, you're not going to get elected. So he pins it on Clemson Louis Dew, who is, they call him not right in the head. I would say today we would say he's on the spectrum because he's a musician, lives in one of the Hoovervilles that was around during the Great Depression, and he is found guilty, sentenced to die, but he is sentenced on Black Sunday, and the power, something goes wrong with the power to the electric chair. So he is redeemed for now until they can figure out what's going on. Then we have an outsider, Cleo Alfrey, and she is from the actual President Roosevelt put together part of the New Deal restoration, and she takes pictures and they send back to Washington, and that way they can publish these pictures that your tax dollars are not going to waste. So, but she loses her camera, or it's stolen, and she buys another camera. And she's like, there's something special about this camera. When she develops the pictures, and it's old school, so not taking them to, Walgreens for developing. The pictures take the picture that she was taking, and then they either incorporate what happened in the past in that location or what happens in the future. And like I said, when I was like, what the heck am I reading? This is where some of the magic comes in. So she finds out a little bit of information on our sheriff, and they're trying to find a way to expose the sheriff because the people who have been on the receiving end of his cruelty know he's a horrible person. But the voters, if you're a law-abiding citizen, he's going to leave you alone. Then here we go. So another allusion to the Wizard of Oz. We have the Scarecrow, who is also a narrator. So all these people narrate. So it's constantly changing. So even though it's a 400-page book, it's changing the narrative and the perspective. So you're just like, okay, I can keep up with this. The Scarecrow watches and reports what he sees, and it's interesting because he's stationary. We find out what's going on with the Scarecrow. Bring your hankies. But it's a supernatural thing. And again, it's just, what did I read? And then we have a red tabby cat and her kittens. They help expose the sheriff. Okay, so um, just when you think, okay, things are calming down because after the Dust Bowl, something else happens, another allusion to the Wizard of Oz. Um, they get their rain, their much needed rain. Excuse me, which leads to another historical event, the Republican River Flood. Excuse me. This was where 24 inches of rain fell in 24 hours onto ground that was in a drought. Never good. So now you have the plot bookended by these horrible natural occurrences, and you have to see how the the characters adapt. So it's just, and then when you get to the end, and then she incorporates, and this was absolutely beautiful, the Pawnee, because she makes a lot of references to Wounded Knee, and that there's a character there that kind of weaves the storylines together, the narrators together, and the reclamation, because Harp, Dell's uncle, makes the connection that we're on stolen land and we're facing the sins of our fathers, and he learns what his father deposited into another prairie witch, because this was um, apparently a popular thing back then. So it's very complicated, it's very layered, but you learn a lot about history because she puts real historical figures in there, and it sits with you. You just can't stop, because you just want to know what happens next. And then just when you think everything's great, we get 24 inches of rain in 24 hours, which leads to other conflicts. So again, it's called The Antidote by Karen Russell. Um, it I liked it, but I'm an English nerd, so. Um, but I would not teach it to my students. But I liked it, and if you really want to push yourself, this is the book to do it with. All right, thank you. Like, share, or subscribe.